killed in the United States because it is the job of the federal government to prevent people from entering here illegally. Right? There are a lot of people, I'm sure, who enter gated communities not to do harm, but because they wander in or because they just want to go for a walk. Okay, but the reality is, if you live in a gated community and your security doesn't do its job and someone gets killed in your gated community, you're going to blame the people in charge of the gated community. America is still a gated community, as it has to be because we have a welfare system and because we have to protect the integrity of their voting process, too. Well, last night, President Trump did something and he got booed by the Democrats for doing it. He pointed out that there are, in fact, people who have been victimized by illegal immigrants in the United States. And the Democrats were saying, well, this is because he's a racist. In the same speech, he made a proposal to Democrats that we should let in 1.8 million illegal immigrants, allow them to become citizens. Democrats sat for that. Here is Donald Trump making a particular point, which is that there are victims of criminals who come into the United States illegally.
Here tonight are two fathers and two mothers, Evelyn Rodriguez, Freddie Cuevas, Elizabeth Alvarado, and Robert Mickens. Their two teenage daughters, Kayla Cuevas and Nisa Mickens, were close friends on Long Island. But in September 2016, on the eve of Nisa's 16th birthday, such a happy time it should have been, neither of them came home. These two precious girls were brutally murdered while walking together in their hometown. 6 members of the savage MS-13 gang have been charged with Kayla and Nisa's murders. Many of these gang members took advantage of glaring loopholes in our laws to enter the country as illegal, unaccompanied alien minors and wound up in Kayla and Nisa's high school. Evelyn, Elizabeth, Freddie, and Robert, tonight everyone in this chamber is praying for you. Everyone in America is grieving for you. I want you to know that 320 million hearts are right now breaking for you. While we cannot imagine the depths of that kind of sorrow, we can make sure that other families never have to endure this kind of pain.
Okay, and Democrats, of course, were very unhappy with all of this. This was Trump doing the storytelling routine that Reagan did better than anybody, I think, since Reagan, actually. I think that what Trump did here by pointing out people in the audience, not, just a guy who started a business, but people who have actually been victimized by bad policy, I think it was tremendously effective. If you watched this and you weren't moved by the plight of these families, if you watched them in their heartbreak, then, and you didn't think, well, maybe we should be able to do something about this, then I don't think that you were watching with an open mind or an open heart. So Trump, I think, did exactly the right thing on this. Now, in just a second, we are going to continue by talking about a little bit more on illegal immigration, a couple more stories that Trump told. Again, I think he used the storytelling art at levels that we have not seen actually since Reagan in American politics, which is an amazing thing for me to say because I don't think that Trump's a particularly good speaker. But we'll get to all of that in just a second. First, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at My Patriot Supply. So we are only a couple of weeks into 2018. Look what we have already dealt with. A false alert, okay, that is in Hawaii. Cyber attacks on our financial system on the rise, and we're bracing for another tough season of natural disasters, and FEMA might not be able to get there in time. Well, that is why you need an emergency plan, right? Even the local, state, federal government, they say you should have an emergency plan. You don't need to wait for crisis to strike. Instead, go out, spend a little bit of money, get what you need right now, and then if disaster strikes, you're ready for it. The best way to get started is to make sure every person in your household has a 102-serving emergency food kit. They're just $99. They are shipped free. Order now. Call 888-803-1413 or go online to preparewithben.com. That's preparewithben.com. This is emergency food that lasts 25 years, so you spend once. You don't have to worry about it for another quarter century. It's a long time. 888-803-1413 or preparewithben.com. Again, all the food that comes from My Patriot Supply tastes like home cooking. People in our office have tried it. They enjoyed it. 888-803-1413, preparewithben.com. Ensure that if disaster strikes, you're ready for it. Preparewithben.com. Okay, so the President of the United States using his storytelling capacity to do some serious damage to the Democratic agenda. And I think that the most polarizing and also the most successful line of his speech last night came when he was talking again about illegal immigration. And what he suggested is, listen, I have a lot of sympathy for illegal immigrants, right? People who are trying to come to this country to make a better life for themselves and cross the border illegally. And I'm happy to legalize 1.8 million of them, like today, if Democrats will make a deal. But we have to protect American citizens first. And it's this sort of baseline root logic that Republicans see, I think most independents see, I think even some Democrats see, but the Democratic Party refuses to see. We'll talk about that when we get to Joe Kennedy's response, because it really is quite insipid and insane. But here last night was President Trump using language that ticked off the media, but I think most Americans heard.
So tonight I am extending an open hand to work with members of both parties, Democrats and Republicans, to protect our citizens of every background, color, religion, and creed. My duty, and the sacred duty of every elected official in this chamber, is to defend Americans, to protect their safety, their families, their communities, and their right to the American dream. Because Americans are dreamers too.
Okay, and that line got big applause from Republicans. Independents liked it. Democrats didn't like it. And because Democrats didn't like it, it's a problem for them. Most Americans still think that Americans ought to be taken care of before we talk about how we take care of foreign citizens, which makes sense. This is still America. Now, one of the things that was really incredible about how Trump used storytelling last night, Bush did it, Obama did it. They all do the Reagan routine, as I said, of putting people up in the rafters and then pointing at them and saying, look at this wonderful person, let's clap. Trump, he's been using the slogan, the forgotten men and women of the country, throughout the entire campaign. And I thought that he misused it when he talked about people who are living in small towns and they've lost their jobs and these are the forgotten men and women. I'll tell you who have been forgotten. People who believe in American values, like sort of traditional American values, the belief that America is a place of liberty. The people who make small sacrifices that don't show up on the national scale, but who are doing the everyday work of making America a better place. And some of the stories that were being told last night were so eloquent in what they said that they said more than even what Trump said. So one example of that last night was he talked about the Holetz family. I thought this was just magnificent. It's this young family where a guy who's an officer with the Albuquerque Police Department, he tells their story. This is the most pro-life story that you'll ever hear without mentioning the word abortion. Just this week, Democrats voted down, they filibustered a bill that would protect babies in the womb after 20 weeks. They voted that down. And Donald Trump, without ever mentioning the word abortion, without ever suggesting pro-life, without talking about termination of a pregnancy, makes an eloquent case for life by telling the story of the Holetz family, who are true American heroes.
We see a vivid expression of this truth in the story of the Holetz family of New Mexico. Ryan Holetz is 27 years old, an officer with the Albuquerque Police Department. He's here tonight with his wife, Rebecca. Last year, Ryan was on duty when he saw a pregnant, homeless woman preparing to inject heroin. When Ryan told her she was going to harm her unborn child, she began to weep. She told him she didn't know where to turn, but badly wanted a safe home for her baby. In that moment, Ryan said he felt God speak to him. You will do it because you can. He took out a picture of his wife and their 4 kids. Then he went home to tell his wife, Rebecca. In an instant, she agreed to adopt. The Holetz named their new daughter Hope. Ryan and Rebecca, you embody the goodness of our nation. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, that is a fantastic story. It's a fantastic pro-life story. It's a fantastic American story. It's the sort of story that President Obama never would have told. And when I see that as a pro-life person, it reminds me that my priorities still matter. It reminds me that my values still matter. And Trump, I think, did that. This was a rare moment of subtlety for the president. I thought it was a great story. I thought that him bringing those folks to the State of the Union was terrific. And that, of course, was not the limit of it. He then went on to talk about North Korea. And a lot of people were saying, well, what's the point of him talking about North Korea? Was he building up the case for war? Well, not necessarily. It's quite possible that he was drawing a contrast between North Korea and the United States, particularly in light of the fact that Democrats keep saying over and over that Trump is a sort of Kim Jong-un figure, or that America is driving toward a North Korean solution, which, of course, is absolute nonsense. So Trump brought the family of Otto Warmbier. You remember Warmbier was a University of Virginia student who was tortured and murdered by the North Korean regime. He brought their family. But the clip of the night, the one that actually made all the headlines, was him talking about a North Korean refugee, this is clip 11, who was attempting to escape North Korea and what he had to go through in order to reach freedom.
Sung Ho traveled thousands of miles on crutches all across China and Southeast Asia to freedom. Most of his family followed. His father was caught trying to escape and was tortured to death. Today, he lives in Seoul, where he rescues other defectors and broadcasts into North Korea what the regime fears most, the truth. Today, he has a new leg, but Sung Ho, I understand you still keep those old crutches as a reminder of how far you've come. Your great sacrifice is an inspiration to us all. Please, thank you.
Which, of course, was the one that...
story is a testament to the yearning of every human soul to live in freedom.
Yeah, that last line is direct from the George W. Bush speech, this idea that every human soul yearns to live in freedom. I actually disagree with that line. I think there are a lot of human beings who desire sanctity over freedom, for example, purity over freedom. This is obviously true in large swaths of the Islamic world. But that image of this young North Korean lifting his crutches, the ones that he used to walk thousands of miles out of North Korea, is an amazing, amazing image. And it's a reminder of what America is. Now, that's what this speech really was last night. That's not the way that the Democrats and the media treated it. The way the Democrats and the media treated it was as though it was the worst thing that they had ever seen. It was just terrible, terrible. So you can see the Democrats, for example, booed President Trump when he started talking about the dangers of chain migration.
Under the current broken system, a single immigrant can bring in virtually unlimited numbers of distant relatives. Under our plan, we focus on the immediate family by limiting sponsorships to spouses and minor children.
Okay, so you can hear them booing there. The worst moment, of course, is Luis Gutierrez, the representative, who actually fled the State of the Union when people started chanting USA. You can see that here.
This Capitol, this living monument, this is the monument to the American people.
And you can see there's Gutierrez, and he's out. So Luis Gutierrez can't deal with people chanting USA, and he leaves. Yeah, good look for the Democrats there. This is what the Democrats refuse to acknowledge, is that Trump can use unifying language. And when he uses unifying language, you should cheer. And when he doesn't, you should boo. But instead, they just decided to boom all the way through. In a second, we are going to get to all the Democratic responses. We're going to get to Joe Kennedy III. We're going to get to Bernie Sanders. We're going to get to the media fallout, which is just insipid and insane. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at 1-800-Flowers.com. Well, if you either want to send condolence flowers to a Democrat after last night, or Valentine's Day is coming up and you actually want to send flowers to a loved one, now is the time. 1-800-Flowers.com is your answer. Right now, when you order early, you get 12 multicolored roses for only $19.99. I know what you're going to do. You're just going to wait until Valentine's Day, and then you're going to be like, oh, no, I didn't get my wife anything. I didn't get my girlfriend anything. And then you're going to go down to the gas station. You're going to pick up some bad sushi, and you're going to stamp a heart on it and say, Happy Valentine's Day. Don't be that guy. Instead, right now, while you're listening, just go to your computer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, and get 12 multicolored roses for just $19.99, or double it to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more. It's a great offer. 12 multicolored roses, again, $19.99. Double it for $10 more. They are shipped at their peak. They are picked at their peak, shipped overnight to ensure freshness and her amazement. And when it comes to Valentine's, don't settle for anything less than America's leading rose authority at 1-800-Flowers.com. Again, that special deal for $19.99. For the dozen roses and 24 multicolored roses for $10 more. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon in the corner, enter promo code Shapiro. Again, that's 1-800-Flowers.com. Make sure you enter that promo code Shapiro so that you get the discount. And again, they are the freshest flowers shipped overnight to you. I promise, the person you send them to will love them and appreciate them just as they love and appreciate you. So 1-800-Flowers.com and use that promo code Shapiro. Okay, so we'll get to much rage and fear-mongering to you. Ugly fear-mongering, because that's not what I saw last night. I'm not sure what speech Cory Booker was watching, except that he has on his tears of rage glasses. And so all he could see was through those tears of rage, evil and horror. Here's Senator Booker.
And here's a guy that used religion tonight to divide. Here's a guy that used patriotism. Whenever somebody pulls out patriotism and uses it as a way to condemn other people for their patriotic acts, how they choose to exhibit their patriotism, that's a divisive way of going about it. And so the raw meat was ugly, and then the appeals to fear-mongering, using MS-13 as a way to cast a shadow around millions of Americans who are looking for a full recognition of their citizenship rights. There are so many examples of this that were just painful.
Okay, so again, Cory Booker saying all this stuff is just nonsense. There's really no excuse for him to say this because I just didn't see it last night. I mean, maybe I missed it, but that's not what I saw. Chris Matthews did the same thing on MSNBC. He gets up on MSNBC, talks about comes out of the show, and then that State of the Union was so terrible. It was worse than when I yelled at my interns. It's worse than when I sexually harassed the help. It's just garbage. Get up, come in here, don't even shower, and I have to watch this nonsense? Just awful. Chris Matthews, go.
It had a lot of particular things that weren't rough, and then it took a turn halfway through it. It almost got ugly. Very tough about saying immigrants are basically killers. MS-13. Beginning a discussion about immigration in a country of immigrants with crime. And that was his way of opening up the discussion, like, I'm protecting us from criminal elements. I thought that got very ugly about that point.
And very ugly that he mentions MS-13 as though it's not a problem in the United States. Again, Trump did not label all immigrants MS-13. He said he wanted to let 1.8 million illegal immigrants remain in the country as a whole. So we're going to get to more media response. We're going to get to everything related to the Democratic responses, which were really, I thought Joe Kennedy's particularly was quite terrible. We'll get to all of that. But first, you're going to have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. $9.99 a month gets you your subscription. That comes along with the rest of this show live, the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live, Michael Knowles' show live. If you watched our live coverage last night, you got to see how great those guys are. And you can get their shows live in their complete horror when you go over to dailywire.com and buy a subscription for $9.99 a month, or get the annual subscription, get all of those things, and you can get these Leftist Tears Hot or Cold tumblers, which we were all using on set last night. They replenish, they revitalize, they make you young once more. The Leftist Tears Hot or Cold tumblers, you get those for $99 a year along with the annual subscription. So all of that is available there. If you want to listen later, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, please subscribe to all those channels and leave us a review. We always appreciate it. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.